Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to today's session on mastering publication writing. And Raisa will speak about how to get started in this. We'll have a Q&A also at the end. So to some of you who already know Raisa, great congratulations. To those of you who do not know her, she has done her M.Pharm in pharmacognosy, and then she started working with some of the leading pharmaceutical companies like Sun Pharma and MacLeod's as medical writer. She has worked earlier with them. And then she has also worked as medical writer with companies like Cactus Communications and Spellbound. Currently, she is a medical writer and the founder of Lucid Writers Hub LLP. So welcome, Raisa. Thank you so much for this session. I think this is one of the sessions that most of us need for understanding publication writing. So let's get started.
Thank you so much, sir, for introduction. So I'll just start.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So everyone, a very good evening. And we planned this webinar actually to share and exchange knowledge with students and also those who are interested in publication writing. Today we'll try to understand where to begin and how to draft a manuscript after you're done with your research, and also a little bit about review papers, narrative review, systematic review, and meta analysis. Okay. Though the title suggests that it's a key to success for pharmacy graduates, but it is a key to success for anybody who's a researcher. Okay, a lot of people think that these days AI is there, and also a lot of medical writing support is there. Like my own agency, Lucid Writers Hub, we provide support in medical writing, right? So we also support pharmas and others in publication writing. But that does not mean that a researcher should not know about publication writing at all, because even if you get it done by somebody else, then also you should have the capability to understand if it is done correctly. Okay, otherwise it may get rejected by the journals. So yeah, so it's necessary for everyone who's into research. So let's go to the next slide. So, yeah, it looks like a very theoretical slide that in a textbook also we discuss about the topics, but this has a motive behind it. Okay, if you'll see the eighth topic, will AI replace writers? So these days I've been getting that question from a lot of people, like, will AI replace writers? Is it a good stream to enter into? Like, should I become a medical writer? Should I get into publication writing? So that question is very common these days. So that is why you should stay till the end to understand, will AI replace writers, or will it support writers? So this, if you're a researcher or a person from science background, why should you be serious about writing? Okay, that is the main question. So until the research is published, it does not hold value. So researchers spend a lot of time, efforts, energy to reach the new findings, right? To find out something new. So even if the outcome of a research is negative, I would say that negative research is also very important, because it saves a lot of time of future researcher to not repeat the same thing. They know that for example, this particular drug is not effective in this particular condition, so that same research would not be repeated. But after negative research also, you're supposed to publish it, right? You have to put it in front of the world where the researchers would read, and that will help a lot of them to save time and not spend time in repeating the same research. So that is why research publication is very important. It should be published for the benefit of the science and healthcare and progress of the human race entirely, because we need the outcome of research available to every single one of us. Like these days there are these summary, okay, which is written in layman terms. So when you write a manuscript, I don't know how many of you have experience in writing manuscripts. So these days, a lot of big journals, they allow writing a summary in layman's term. Okay. So before a manuscript, there would be a summary which a normal person who's not from a science background will also be able to understand. So that helps to spread the knowledge. Okay, even a layman will be able to go search for something and understand the outcome of that drug or that study. So that is there. Another thing is pressure to publish. Okay, there is a lot of pressure, we all know, to publish. After you're done with your research, a lot of universities, a lot of colleges, guides, they say that only if you publish your research, then only I'll sign your thesis, and such things are there. But other than the pressure to publish, why are researchers planning to publish? Why do they want to publish? Okay, they want it for showing it to the world. Researchers also intend to show to the world that they have conducted this research. They want to take the ownership of that research, right? Unless and until you publish, you won't get the ownership of that research. You can tell it to a few people, but you cannot tell it in front of the world that you have found this thing. This is something new that you came across while you were doing this particular research. So that is there. Then a lot of times what happens is, you would have written a very good paper which would have aligned with the journal guidelines, and there are a lot of reporting guidelines also. I'm not sure that many of you are aware of, because as a new writer I didn't know that there are reporting guidelines also other than the journal guidelines which we are supposed to follow for a paper to get accepted, even for the review process. Okay, so there are these guidelines. There's a website called equatornetwork.org. So if you'll go there, there are guidelines for papers. Like for randomized trial, there's a guideline called CONSORT. They have a checklist as well as a figure flow chart which is mandatory to be added in a randomized clinical trial manuscript. Similarly, there are guidelines for systematic reviews, which is called PRISMA. As for systematic review and meta-analysis, we have this guideline. So you have to ensure that you have gone through the checklist, and everything is followed in your manuscript. Whatever is mandatory to be added is added in your manuscript, and this is regardless of the journal that you select. Okay, so for animal studies, if you're studying in college and conducting animal study, there's a guideline called arrive guideline that is also available in that website, and you have to follow that arrive guideline along with the journal guidelines. Okay, so this is one thing why a lot of papers get rejected from journals even after following the journal guidelines, because people are not aware of these reporting guidelines. Okay, so you should know these things. Other than that, sometimes some of you might even be aware of these writing these guidelines. Okay, but still the paper gets rejected. So nothing to worry about it. Sometimes what happens is, we as researchers, we're not aware of which journal would be most suitable for our paper. So probably your paper, your research is not suitable for this particular journal. Probably it would be suitable for another journal which holds the same impact factor or higher impact factor because of the type of research that you've done. Okay, so how do you go about that? So you should select a journal, a list of journals. Then you should check their recent issues, the recent papers that they've published, and you should see if they've published similar papers. For example, if you're planning to publish a clinical study, you should go to a journal and see if they've published clinical trials. Okay, if they do not publish clinical trials and you submit your clinical trial, which is of very high value, they may still reject it even if you abide by all the guidelines that are given. Okay, so these are the basic things that we should be aware of, and don't get demotivated if a paper is rejected. Okay, then why publications matter? Okay, so this is one thing that I just some time back told you all, that until and unless your research is published, it is not out there in the world, right? Nobody knows that you are the owner of that particular research. So that is the major thing why publication matters. Like as a researcher, that should be your primary thing. But other than that, the Medical Council of India as well as the Pharmacy Council of India, they ask teachers to publish at least two papers to be eligible for promotion. Okay, the aim of this initiative is to encourage the junior and middle level faculty to publish papers. Now, if you're a student or if you have just passed out and still planning to submit your thesis or waiting for your viva, this is the right time. You should approach one of the professors, your guide, and tell them that you're interested in writing a paper. If you have your research ready, then definitely go for a research paper. If you don't have a research ready, like if you're doing your B Farm and you don't have any research done, you just have theoretical subjects, then what you can do is, you can approach any mentor or any guide in your college and you can ask them that I am interested in writing this particular paper. First do your homework. Okay, you find a topic that is of very that holds some value, that would be important to the society, like people would like to read it, like about some new drug, some new technology, and find a topic and go to a guide and tell them that you would be interested in publishing this review paper. So if they would help you in doing that, like they would guide you, then you take the full responsibility. You write, you read online how to go about a paper. You can contact me, you can contact a lot of people who are there. Nowadays people are there on LinkedIn supporting each other, helping write papers. I can guide you. If you want basic guidance, you can call, drop an email and I'll help you out. Okay, so like that, and write a paper. So this is the best way to develop your samples, even if you, even before you get into your professional role. So by the time you complete your bachelor's or by the time you complete your master's, you will have papers with your name under authors. Okay, and you can, if you plan to apply for a medical writer's role, you can always show that paper saying that okay, I have this paper published. Now here there is a small issue. So there are some journals called predatory journals. This is again a new term which a lot of new writers or a lot of students are not aware of. Okay, so these predatory journals, they, uh, you should not go for these journals. What happens is these predatory journals, they would charge you sometimes even before your paper gets published, or even if they don't accept there are submission fees. Usually reputed journals do not have submission fees. Okay, another thing is they do not hold any value, they do not have impact factor, they are not indexed in PubMed, Scopus, or any reputed places. So even if you go to these journal websites, like recently I had seen a journal, so how to verify it? So if you go to a journal website, you'll see the indexing and you'll see all the details. Okay, so what you can do is just download their recent papers or some of their papers or the journal name, and go to PubMed and type that name. Okay, and see if you get it. If they say PubMed index, then at least some of their papers should be there in PubMed, right? Or the journal name should show up in PubMed, so you should cross check like that to see if it is really PubMed indexed. Okay, some of these predatory journals claim to have very high impact factor on their page, but it's not available anywhere else. Like you won't be able to see it in any other place. So you can verify such things before you submit your paper, especially research paper, because once it is published, then you cannot republish a paper in another journal. So you lose your research to a predatory journal. So that should not happen. Then why do firms publish? Why do organizations publish? What happens is, as a student, I know that you are all interested in publishing because you want to create your samples, you want to show it to an organization while joining the organization. But why do organizations public? Like big organizations also publish papers, right? Very big pharmas, very big biotech companies, even some writing agencies and all of them publish papers. So there is a reason to it. First thing is accessing external knowledge and resources. So, what does sharing open science values mean? So, publishing research openly in journals, in repositories, in preprints allows global access, right? And what is the intention of research? A research intention is for the healthcare, the medical field to grow, right? So, we need to give it a global access. Unless and until you publish, it will stay maybe you within your college or within your organization. To give that global access, we need to publish it. Okay, it also prevents duplication of research and speeds up the process of discovery. So that is very important, right? During COVID times, a lot of vaccines were created in such a small time. That was because of publication. That is how they were spreading the information across the globe. Okay, this study is conducted, and this is the outcome of this study. This study is conducted, and this is the outcome of that study. That's how global researchers were in touch. Then other than that, what else is there? It is stimulating collateral research. It means that other researchers can build upon your work. So, probably you would have conducted a preclinical study, an animal study in a certain drug, and it's already there. So, other researchers can further proceed to check, or probably your drug is useful in one particular indication, and it has a lot of safety aspects to it, and it could be probably used in another similar indication also. So then they can directly conduct the research on another indication. So that way it will help save time and speed up the discovery process again. Then nurturing an open culture among competitors and suppliers. Basically, transparencies through publications can lead to cooperative competition, I would say. So what happens is, suppose pharma competitors or any other competitors, they will get to know, okay, this drug is out there, so I can do this thing on this drug, we can conduct this possible study. So it will help co-develop technologies or standardized processes also. Okay. Then second thing is attracting and retaining researchers. Okay, so publications are a proof of competence and technical skills and innovation. So it helps build CVs. So suppose you're working in an organization, and with your organization, suppose you were working in clinical research team, and your organization conducted a research where you were a part of. Okay, you also helped. So when you publish that clinical research, everyone gets authorship. Everyone who are actively involved, and there are these guidelines for authorship. Not everyone can get authorship, even if you're a part, like, uh, very small part, which was not a you were not a major contributor in the study, then you cannot be an author. Okay, probably they can acknowledge you, there are guidelines to that also. So if you are a major contributor, then you will get authorship that will help you build your CV. That is why firms, organization publish. That is like a motivator, booster for employees, right? If you keep getting your name under publications, you would like to stay in such organizations rather than staying in organizations where you work but you don't get authorship to the work. So that is another thing. Then accumulating social capital, what does this means? So as you build your public visibility, like your publication increases visibility, you build a professional reputation, and you also develop a networking. Like, there are some doctors, there are some people who are actively into a particular field of research, they are very famous in that particular field. So then they get to collaborate, like they get invitations for collaborations. There are these big international conferences, and there doctors and a lot of people come to speak. Do you know how they get invited? Because of these publications only. They would be a part of, like, big studies, where there would be authors and they would have contributed to the study a lot. So that is how they get invitations. So visibility, their visibility increases. Okay. Then there are other things. So from a company perspective, so talented researchers, they value their names in publication, they value prestige over salaries. So sometimes from company perspective, it becomes easier to negotiate with a person, that in our company we give ownership, authorship, credibility to a person who participates, who contributes to a study. So then that's how they can negotiate also. That is also one of the parameters. These parameters I found in a published paper, so that's how I've mentioned here. Then monitoring researchers performance. Okay, so number and quality of publication. So here the word quality I'm saying, because just the quantity won't matter. Because I said that you should create your samples. If you're in college, you should go to a guide and try to write a paper. That does not mean you should write many papers. Okay, if you can write good quality many papers, then great. But just writing poor quality papers is not going to help. Because when you share your samples with an organization, when you apply for a job, they will not have time to look into all the papers that you've published. They will probably open one or two just to see what kind of writing skills you have. Okay, so that is why you should publish only good quality papers in good journals. Okay, not predatory journals. Then supporting intellectual property strategies, so extending patent traces, these are all the parameters. Reducing expected patent value. So this is something. So in the beginning I said exchange of knowledge, because while creating PPT to share my publication knowledge, I also came across something new in this. So basically, there are some countries where you cannot publish a paper about your research before you apply for patent, whereas in other countries you can publish the paper and then apply for patent. Okay, because patent is the exclusive right that you get on that product, okay, or on that particular technology. So making it public is not advisable in certain countries, whereas it is okay in certain other countries. So if you plan to patent your research, that also I've seen in a lot of PhD and master students, they try to patent their research. Check if it is applicable in the country that you have conducted the research or where you are applying the patent, that if you publish a paper it is okay. If it is okay, then only you should publish if you are planning a patent, okay, to apply for a patent. Otherwise, wait for that. So these are something new, some new findings that I came across. And when it is allowed to publish the paper, so in some countries when they allow to publish a paper before filing the patent also, there it helps, it is supposedly like it supports. So basically it comes out in public that you have conducted this particular research and you are planning for this particular patent, okay. So then nobody else can do it before you, because in patent it has to be the first one, right? Then only you can apply if it's something novel, something new. Then building the firm's reputation is another reason why firms publish, because conducting the research within the organization, keeping everything within the organization, and then marketing the product, okay. Once the research is done, you have the data, you submit to regulatory authority, they approve the product, if it's a medicinal product, and then you put it out there in the market. But how is it going to help? So to build your reputation, you need to make these studies that you conduct as a firm outside, like in publish it, so that it's visible to everyone. So that when a lot of people these days, because of access to Google, every single layman, like in our families also, anybody gets prescribed any medicine, the first thing they do is they go to Google search and they check, okay. So sometimes these research papers or the published papers also comes up. So a lot of people know that this pharma company is very good because they have it in their mind, okay, this pharma company is very good, I've read a lot about this pharma company is a lot very good. Whereas some other pharma companies, they say I've never heard this name. That is because when they search for it, these things come up, okay, on top. So that is why it helps in building firms reputation, and not just amongst public, also amongst doctors, also amongst researchers. So that is why firms publish. Then another thing is supporting commercialization strategies. So how does this help? So once a clinical research is published, then they can use it for marketing purpose also, even though it's not the primary target. If the clinical research, the research intention is primarily research, okay, it has nothing to do with marketing. But the if the outcome is positive, it is supporting your product, then they can show it, right? Like we conducted this research on these many human patients, and the outcome was very well, and they all had so much of improvement, so this product is very good. That's how they can use it, right? Now comes the building block of a great research. So as I said, research without publication is like a land which is not marked on the map, right? So we need to put our research on the map by understanding these building blocks. A research paper is like a jigsaw puzzle. In my opinion, I would say that the methods and results section is the biggest portion of this jigsaw puzzle. Okay. Whereas the introduction and discussion section are small chunks of it. But even if it is small, you should not consider that it is smaller in value. It is just smaller in size, smaller in length. Okay. So the value is very high. An impactful introduction is very important for a reader to continue reading your research paper, because a research paper begins with abstract, then after that it comes title, abstract, introduction, then comes the method. So a reader has to read through all of this to reach the method section, right? So what happens when we start reading a fictional book also which is not interesting in the beginning? We would probably leave the book midway, right? So similarly with research papers also, or with manuscripts also, published literature, if it is not interesting in the beginning, if the abstract, the title, it is not interesting, we would probably not click on the full text. If the introduction is not interesting, we would probably not continue reading. Yeah. So there are two types of sources that you can use for a research paper, okay. I know when it's a research paper, methods and results is something that comes that is the outcome of your research, so you already have it. But in other papers like systematic review and meta analysis, narrative reviews, in all these papers you don't have methods and results, so there you have to search and add. But if you have methods and results section, then to write introduction and discussion also you need some references, right? So in any kind of manuscript, the reliable sources versus the unreliable sources, if you see, okay, the sources that you can use, reputable academic journals and peer review articles, okay. So the published papers, the already published papers you can review. In fact, there are some journals which does not accept some of the articles, published articles also in your references. You know why? Because they would be published in predatory journals. So there are some journals so stringent that in your references also they will not allow predatory journals cited. Okay, so use your references very carefully. Use only published literatures in good journals. Recently published literatures are always preferred, especially when you add statistics. So recently I came across an incident where somebody had added the prevalence rate, like prevalence of a certain disease in a manuscript or draft version, where that person had added prevalence from a source, and that source was of 2010 and now it is 2025. So that prevalence for that particular disease was in 2010. Do you think it is even acceptable? Because now the prevalence would have increased or decreased drastically, or it would remain the same, but we need recent sources, right? Then reputable academic journals, there are certain journals which accept a lot of academic papers, so such journals. Government publications, so there are these .gov websites, okay, which ends with .gov, just the way my company's website is lucidwritershub.com. Similarly, there are like Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, so mohfw.gov it is, okay. So .gov websites are always acceptable regardless of which country's website it is. So that is something that you can use. Then there are these other websites like World Health Organizations, International Diabetes Federation. Then there are these American Association of Cardiology, American Association of various indication, okay, various systems like American Heart Association, American Association of Diabetes. Then there are these European associations. So all these guidelines, then based on the indication for which you are writing the paper, suppose there's asthma paper that you're writing, then you should search for asthma guidelines, okay. And you'll find that GINA, global initiative for asthma. So uh, these there are these guidelines specific to certain indications, that also you should search and you should add it to your manuscript, okay. But when you add the guidelines, you should ensure that you have used the most latest, the most recent guidelines, okay. If there's a 2025, 2024 guideline available, but you go and use 2021 or some older version of it, then it is not acceptable, unless and until there are some instances when guidelines have only certain data, the amendment, the changes that are published in the latest version, and the remaining things remains the same as previous version, then you can definitely use the previous version, but otherwise using the latest version is mandatory. Then you should also be aware of what you cannot use. So this is something that is more important than what you can use, because what you cannot use is easily, when you put a search term and you search for it, the first things that come up in most of the cases is what you cannot use, okay. And they all look so attractive, that we tend to click on it, and then we like it so much that we tend to use it also, if we are not aware that we are not supposed to use it. So personal blogs are not allowed to be used. Personal blogs and other .com websites, any website that ends with .com is not allowed. Any website that ends with .org is not allowed, but this is conditional. Like there are some good websites like these just the way I was saying, these associations or these guidelines, many a times they end with org, so that is acceptable. So you need to have an idea about, in this particular field, therapeutic area, field of research, what is acceptable. If you're not sure, you can come search online, you can go to your guide and ask, you can find a mentor and ask, okay. Then social media posts definitely not allowed. Wikipedia is the first thing that comes up if we search for anything. It's good to read. It's easy to understand. As a new reader, it's like the most convenient thing to understand, but probably it would have errors, so that cannot be used. Okay. Then in your research paper, you should have an objective that is clear. Okay, clear as in what you are planning to evaluate, like efficacy and safety of this particular drug. Whatever you are planning to evaluate, it should be clearly stated in your research objective. Then comes how to organize. So you should organize in such a way, when you are writing the introduction section, it should have a flow. It should not be a jump, like one paragraph, then another paragraph, then another paragraph, and these paragraphs are not interconnected only. So you should have a clear flow in case you're switching from one topic, like if there are two drugs in your product, okay, and you're writing about these two drugs. So first you'll write about the indication, about the prevalence, and then you'll mention the guidelines which recommend your drugs, and then you'll write about one drug, and then you'll write about another drug, and then you'll write about the objective, like why your study is important. That is the main thing in your introduction. Okay, why your study is needed, is it already done, and if it is done, then why are you even why have you even conducted it. So that is very important. You should know why you did what you did, and that is very important to convey in the introduction section. Then only the reviewer of the journal will proceed with it. Then relevant and reliable sources, which I already discussed. Then effective data presentation. So we had a webinar in the past of on data visualization. I don't know if you all got to attend, but how to present your data. There are some data which are suitable for table. There are other data which are suitable for images. By images, I mean either by graph, there are different options like pie chart, bar graph, line graph. So you should know what is the most suitable thing for your data. You will have to find out. It will take some time. You'll have to go to some papers which have similar data published and what they have used, or in the journal that you're targeting, in that journal what kind of things that are accepted and they have used for similar kind of data. So effective data presentation is something that uh, will help you get it published also, and that will help readers also understand. Okay. Then comes common mistakes to avoid. Common mistakes to avoid, the first mistake I would say is choosing the inappropriate journal for your research, choosing a predatory journal for your data, then using references like personal blogs, Wikipedia, social media posts. So all these things should be definitely avoided. Okay. Then come from idea to manuscript. So now, once you have an idea on what thing you want to write, if it's a research paper, great, you have the results. Okay. If it's a review paper, then you need to find what topic would be suitable. So once you get an idea after doing a little bit or a thorough research that this is the most suitable topic to write an article, once you get an idea, you should find a mentor. That is very important. As a student, or if you are a new writer, then you can approach senior people in your company, in your college, wherever you are, or you can approach people online like LinkedIn. But of course, when it comes to a paper that you're planning to publish, you cannot just go to anybody, because again that data confidentiality issue is there. So if you just approach anybody you are not aware of, you do not know, then there's a possibility of losing your data, right? So for about data, you should be s- uh, very particular. You should not share your data. Probably you can approach people and you can ask them guidance, like this is the indication and I intend to write a research paper. Could you please guide what are the latest available guidelines, which guidelines I can refer to? Could you please share the link? So these things you can ask, but don't share your data with random people. Okay, that should stay between you and your guide, unless and until your guide permits to share with certain someone who would help. Okay. Then organize the manuscript. So once you have collated the data and everything, until you begin, you will not understand how to go about it. So start writing. First, create the skeleton, whatever is important. Like just create a skeleton like abstract, keyword, introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion. Then start filling in the section. Download. literature search. Okay, for introduction and discussion, you'll definitely need literature search. For methods, depends. If you have a research paper, then methods and results you can write. In methods also, if it involves human participants, then you need to mention that it was prospectively registered on certain clinical trial registry. Then you need to mention that ethics committee approval was obtained. Even in case of animal research, you need to have ethics committee approval, and that registration number you need to provide. Then in case of human participants, you need to mention that declaration of Helsinki guidelines were followed. So there are a lot of guidelines that you need to mention that you have followed it in your method section. Okay, then clinical trial registration number also, it is mandatory to be added in clinical trial manuscripts in the method section. Then inclusion and exclusion criteria are another thing. So even though we don't mention all the inclusion and exclusion criteria in manuscripts, but we use the term key eligibility criteria. Key word means the important ones, because many a times what happens is there are many, like probably 20, 30 inclusion and exclusion criteria, and manuscripts have word count limit, right? So we cannot mention everything. If you are really keen on providing everything, then you can provide a supplementary file. You can provide the study protocol and everything as supplementary file to prove that it is a legit study that you have conducted. Okay. Similarly, suppose it's a chemistry paper, then you would be having a lot of, suppose you did proton NMR, you did all kind of analysis, IR, then C13, 13C NMR, and all of that you did, then it is not possible to add all of it in your manuscript, right? Then you can provide all of it as supplementary file, and you can provide the important data in your manuscript. Okay. The method section of manuscript should be such that it should be easily recreated. Like it should be a person, like a third person like me is reading, and you have published a manuscript. So I should be able to read and recreate the study. Okay. Then when it comes to introduction and discussion, literature search is very important. So when you search for literature, how to go about it? One second, I'll just check the time. I should not exceed. Okay. When you when you search for literature, what you do is you should put the search term. Suppose you have ABC drug. Okay, so you should put the drug name and search. Then you should put the drug name and the indication in which you are conducting the study and search. You should search for the guidelines. Then there are these special search terms, like you put the search term whatever you want to search, and then use the word site colon, colon is the symbol, dot gov. Then all the .gov websites will come up. .gov published URL. Okay. Then same your search term space site colon dot org. Then all the orgs will come up like that. Okay. .edus are another websites which are the data which is published by educational institutions that we usually do not use in manuscripts. Okay. So then after you're done writing the manuscript, edit and rewrite the manuscript. Take a break is my personal opinion. Once you're done writing the manuscript, take a break from the file probably for 1 2 hours, if possible, then that night, and then check it again next day with a fresh mind. Okay. Then you'll be able to find mistakes, and then you can proceed with submission after you have approached your guide mentor. Okay. So these are the things which I already discussed in the previous slide. Once you have selected a good topic, you can organize your ideas. It should the process should be fun, right? Unless and until it is fun, you won't like to write. So ensure that it's fun for you. Interact with people, contact and ask. That will help you understand more. It should be an interesting topic for you. It should not just be a work. Okay, I want a sample for under my name, so I will just do it. Roadmap. So you should create a roadmap, what you're planning to do, what you're planning to write. Create a skeleton. You can put the links also of the literatures that you've found, that okay, I'll use this in the first para, this in the second para, and then start writing about it. Okay. In clinical research, you also need to mention how the data analysis was done, and all of that, regulatory approval details and all of that. Writing the manuscript, so you should first choose the list of journals that you would opt for. Then what you can do is select the first and second choice journal. Like first you would target this journal, and second you would target this journal. What I personally do is I target two journals, and I try to find two journals with similar kind of guidelines, so that in case my paper gets rejected from the first journal, I won't have to rework a lot on the paper to make it, to align it with the second journal's guideline. So you can do that, but it's not always possible because a lot of people are involved in finalizing or selecting the journal, so it's okay. Then go to the instruction for authors guidelines, which are available in all the journal pages, and follow those guidelines like thoroughly. Then after selecting the journal, try to understand their writing style. You can download like recent papers from the journal, and you can check what kind of writing style they follow. Okay, how many words they allow in introduction? Recent papers, how many words have they added in introduction? Like some journals, they have this guideline. Like recently, I came across a journal which allows only one paragraph in introduction, which was very new to me because until now I had been writing for journal which allows a normal 600 to 700 word introduction. Okay, so that is very difficult to write, like to show that why you did what you did in that small one paragraph. Then edit your manuscript for precision, clarity, flow. Check if the flow is proper. You can check with your colleagues, or you can check with your guide, somebody to read your manuscript. Always, a second person would always be able to find more errors, and it will always be able to give you new suggestions. Okay, this could also be a part of your manuscript. So anybody, uh, like, of course, confidentiality comes first, but anybody who's allowed, so there you can give the manuscript to evaluate. Then each publisher has a different requirement, so yeah, you should go through the journal guidelines thoroughly. Check the peer review process. Like probably a lot, you would be looking for some publication to be done like quickly, so you should always check the time to accept, like time to acceptance, time to first decision, time from acceptance to publication. All of that you should check, because a lot of journals, good journals, they take around 6 months also. So you should be very careful in the beginning only before you initiate the process. Other than that, you should also check for the article publication charges, because many journals have very high article publication charges. If you are an individual researcher, okay, it would be more than $2,000 in many cases. So be careful. It should not happen that you submitted and everything got accepted, but you realize the article publication charges are very high in at a very later stage. Other than that, there are these journals called hybrid journals. So there's one open access journal, hybrid journal. Okay, in open access journal, what happens is when you submit your paper, the entire paper will be available to everyone. In hybrid journals, you have this option to choose. If you choose open, then you have to pay the article publication charges, APC. If you choose like no open access, then your only your title or abstract would be available to everyone, and you will not have to pay the APC. Okay, and sometimes the APC is low if you choose like no open access. Okay, so you should be very careful. Check the price, like costing details in the beginning only before you proceed with it. Writing for impact. Okay, these are the core sections of the manuscript: abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, as I told you all like before. So abstract is a brief summary. For abstract also, we have word count. Based on journal to journal, it varies. Some journals allow 250 words, some journal allow 300 words. If you are planning to present in a conference before publishing your research, then ensure that the conference does not uh, need 400 or more words, because there are some journals which do not allow publishing your paper if you have published an abstract of more than 400 words. This is one of the guidelines that I'd come across recently. So yeah, otherwise none of the conferences ask for 400 word abstract. Usually they ask for 250 or 300 words only. So yeah, you can present before in a conference and then publish your paper. That is completely acceptable. Then introduction should have background on the topic, why you did what you did, and the aim of the study. Okay, and if it's first of its kind study, like if it was never done before, either you can mention in the introduction or in the discussion section, depending on the suitability based on your paper. Okay, then method should have detailed description of everything so that it can be reproduced. Okay, I know that sometime back I told you that in case of eligibility criteria, it is not possible to mention all the eligibility criteria, so we state key eligibility criteria. So in such cases, what happens is the trial is already registered in clinical trial registry of that particular country, right? In India, it is clinical trial registry India. So a researcher can use that clinical trial registration number from that manuscript and go and check the eligibility criteria there. So that is already available. Then methods, okay. Detail methods we discussed. Then results. So results includes the findings of the study, okay. So it should not happen that in methods you wrote that these were the study endpoints, and in results you miss one of the endpoints. If you have mentioned it as one of the endpoints, that then it should definitely be described in the results section. You cannot skip any one of the things, okay. There should be internal consistency within the document. There are a lot of other formatting related internal consistencies also. For example, digits after decimal. So you should ensure that if you are using two digits after decimal, then throughout the document it is two digits after decimal. Then suppose you are mentioning side effects in number of patients, percentage of patient. So if you are using descending order of describing the number of, like, patient had A, B, C side effect, then for every other thing like prior medication or concomitant medication that the patient might have taken, for all of that you should try to keep it in descending order, like same order, okay. These are all small level in consistencies that you have to maintain within the document. Okay, then discussion. So some you in discussion always begins with summarizing your results, but you do not have to repeat the entire result again. Then implications, then already published research. If your result are aligning with already published research, and what are the scope of future research. So here the scope for future research, here I've mentioned clearly that do not hesitate to write the limitations of your study. You should really not hesitate, because if there is some limitation to your study, you should mention it, so that the reviewer of the paper, when you submit it to the journal, they will not come back with the same query like this has this limitation, why should we even accept it? Because you've already mentioned it in the limitation of the study, so they know that you are aware of it and you are still planning to proceed with submission to this particular journal. So you should always mention the limitation of your study. And if possible, you should try to uh, say that why this limitation is not so important in this current study, but definitely it will help in the future, like why that is so, why you did, why, even if you were aware of the limitation, why you proceeded with this thing. So that thing you should be aware of, okay. And then practical advice for the writers. Yes, target different audiences while writing the draft. No, what you should do is you can contact your guide. You can check with your colleague, like that you can contact different types of audiences while writing the process, during the writing process. And then you can refine your draft, okay. Then iterative process. So you can write in stages. For first draft, then you only review, then you only refine, then give it some time, and then try to identify more flaws, and then give it to somebody else. Like multiple drafts will happen before you really proceed to submit the article, right? Then engage with mentors and peers, okay. This is what something I already said. When you target different audience, when they give you the feedback, you should accept it, okay, very nicely. They have spent the time to read your article and they are giving you feedback. Even if it is negative, you should accept it. You should understand that if they give you negative feedback, it is still okay, rather than a paper getting rejected from a journal. So you should accept, you should see if it is applicable. If it is not, then you can even go ahead and discuss with them, and then probably their opinion about it would change, or maybe they will be able to convince you why they are saying what they are saying and why you should update it. So yeah, accept the feedback and appreciate that they try to read it. Then this is the journal submission process. Those of you who have submitted already, who have published papers, would already be aware. First, you have to prepare for your submission. Do not rush, like after you prepare the draft. Just like I said in the previous slide, ensure that you get it reviewed multiple times, multiple drafts, everything before you submit. Okay. Then select an appropriate publication outlet, basically as an appropriate journal. Okay. Once you find the most suitable journal, Read the author guidelines in that journal, then submit a cover letter along with your manuscript. Not all journal accepts cover letter, but most of them do. So try to submit a cover letter. Title and abstract should be very good, okay, because that only decides, like, that first impression. We all know how much it matters. So yeah, make a good first impression with your good title and abstract. A lot of journals have title word limitations and character limitations also, like only 100 characters allowed. By character I mean 100 letters, like A, B, C, D, like that letters. Okay, only 100 letters allowed. So that way, so, and some journals even need a running title. Running title means a shorter version of the title again. So if the title only allows 100 characters, then imagine how much a running title would allow. Probably only 50 characters. So you should be able to put the right terms in the title so that it attracts the audience. Then leveraging your publication skills for your career success. So study requirements, a lot of degrees, they require you to publish papers in order to get your degree. Requirements for promotion in a lot of institutions, to get salary raise, to improve career prospects. Then long term sustainability. So once you are in academic career, a lot of professors have a CV with like 40, 50 publications, right? Because they need to maintain it for their academic career. Then to achieve a departmental head's position, like to have a higher position, top rank position in academic institution, you need publication. Then for the advancement of policies, this in my opinion should have been the first one year, because unless and until we publish, there won't be any advancement in health, education, economic policies. So we need to publish more and more in order for our healthcare field to improve further, and for us to have all the facilities that we should be having. Okay. Then name and fame in the society is another thing. So once you start publishing, you'll realize, okay, you'll start sharing it with your peers, right? Or you'll share your CV with people, and then people will see, oh my god, then you'll only feel satisfaction for what you've done in your career. So that is one, that prestige is one of the things that researchers like, because they've been working hard for it, right? Somewhere they should get acknowledged for it. So this is one of the thing. Yes. Now, will AI replace writers? Is my job at stake? So when new technologies came, nobody got replaced. Like, right? When this Microsoft Excel came, did bank employees got replaced? They were always working on registers. No, in fact, their workload increased. They were given new types of role, like this sale, that marketing, this and that, along with what they were doing. It increased their efficiency. They could do more in less time. Similarly, I'm sure that a lot of you would have tried the recent Ghibli art, and a lot of you would also be on Instagram, right? So there were videos where the Ghibli art went wrong. Somebody standing with something in hand turned into human's head, or somebody standing with a baby turned into standing with two babies. So AI has its own limitations, right? So we should not forget that AI has its own limitations, and humans are always required to have accurate outcome. Okay. So even when we use AI, even though using AI is allowed nowadays, you just have to acknowledge that you've used AI, but the eventual uh, responsible person, like in the end, is you. In even while publishing a paper, it is okay to acknowledge AI, but for what purpose you have used, and you are the responsible person that you have to mention. So it is okay, but you should check whatever rephrasing, for paraphrasing, if you've used, you should check if it is done correctly. There's no meaning change. Many a times meaning changes are there. You should not use AI for literature search. It is my personal suggestion. What you should do is you should go do a thorough literature search, find everything. Then you can probably go to AI and check what are the guidelines for this indications. You would have already searched, and if AI suggests some new guidelines also which are not there in your literature search, then you can check online if it is there. If you ask AI to write introduction, even with references and citations, no, many instances what happens is it uses a references which does not exist. You can try it out. If you click on those references, it won't exist, or probably it would just merge references, two references, and create one title. So you should not use AI for such things. You should write it yourself. Being a writer, you can use it for paraphrasing, improvising, but in the end you should review your written data. So, and the answer to this question, will AI replace writers and is my job at stake, is no. AI will not replace writers. It will increase writers' efficiencies. It will help you publish more papers in lesser time. It will help you write more blogs in lesser time. But eventually, you'll have to write, you'll have to review your paper, and you will be the responsible person for what you write and not AI. Okay. So, this is all about the session. Let me know if you have any question and answers.
All right. Thank you so much, Raisa. You may stop sharing the screen. Let's go to the questions. Participants, how did you rate today's session? Please put your feedback in one word. Let's see. Did you find the session useful? Yes, no in the chat box. We'll take up the questions. I'll also give you the unmuting right so that you all can unmute and simply ask questions. Just in case you don't want to unmute, it's okay. You can also put in the question in the chat box. I'll read out the questions for you. So first we'll take the feedback and then we'll go to the questions. Is that right?
Okay.
Raisa, is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
okay?
that is okay. I was just going through one of the questions.
We'll read out the questions later on.
Hmm.
Let's take the feedback. How was the feedback? Did you like the session? Put in one word. Yes, no? And then we'll take up the questions from all of you. How long does it take to type one word? All of you want to do academic writing? All right, so feedback have started. Dr. Aishwarya says informative. Dipan says quite informative. Pranali says yes, not many people emphasize on predatory journal. So that's another topic for you, Raisa. Maybe we can have one session on predatory journal.
Yes.
Priyanka says informative. JT. Okay, JT says good. All right, so thank you so much for your feedback, everyone. Let's go ahead with the questions now. So Pranali says, is there any specific degree that a guide must have? Or the connection is, can a guide who is just a MSc qualified but is appointed as a professor can be a guide? Do we need to have a doctorate degree or net qualification in order to be a guide for publications?
Okay.
You want to take that, Raisa?
Yes, yes. So basically, you don't have to be a guide at all to get your papers published. Even if you are a B Farm professor, not a guide for M Farm student, not a guide for PhD student, then also you can publish a paper. Okay, it's completely okay as long as you have done a research or if it's a review paper. There's no such requirement. Even B Farm students are authors in a lot of papers, so that's completely okay. Like BSc students are also authors in a lot of papers. There's no such requirement. As long as the paper is of good quality, you need to have an organization's name associated with yours in order to publish a paper, at least in most of the good journals. That's what I've seen. So that's the main thing. Other than that, the paper should be good and it should follow the guidelines.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Then yeah, to be a guide, yes, as Manoj sir said, that to be a guide, you need to have PhD plus experience. A lot of times, M Farm professors also are allowed to guide B Farm students. So these days, MSc and bachelor students also are interested, very keen on conducting research. So they conduct small researches which they present in some of the conferences, and they also gain knowledge. So then they have an idea whether they are suitable for M Farm, whether they like it or not. So a lot of professors who are just masters, like I won't say just masters is also a hard work, right? So who are masters qualified would also be allowed to conduct research, be a guide for these B Farm students for the research that they conduct.
Yeah.
So that is also okay.
So depending on the degree you are in, there are certain guidelines that needs to be followed. In pharmacy, we know, in medicine, in MSc, life sciences, others, they have their own university guidelines to follow. All right, thank you so much, Pranali. We hope we answered. Any other questions, guys? Please ask. Please feel free to ask. How many of you have already published some papers? Type me in the chat box if you've already published. If you're writing a paper, you can try write WP, writing a paper. Okay, Dr. Aishwarya has published. Great. So was this session useful, Dr. Aishwarya, for you? Must be a recap for you. Vani says yes. Pranali
Oh,
says three
nice. Three
papers.
papers. Great.
Biotechnology has a great future, Pranali. If you have published anything biotechnology, then
Yes, yes.
you can
Biotechnology
definitely.
people become medical writers also.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of biotechnology companies are preferring to have people from biotechnology background like you. Definitely, you'll have a lot of value addition there. Deepan says for addictive effects to add up much
Additive
importance to the
effects.
paper, is AI worth it? Because I got some issues while compiling my thesis when I tried to the same last year, so left the idea. Okay. Raisa, what is your experience on using AI
By
for?
additive effects, you mean compiling different sections? Okay,
So Deepan,
because
you
in
can.
pharma, additive effects is completely different. That is why I asked this question.
So I have
It's
given the unmuting right to everyone. In case you want to ask a question, you can simply unmute and talk. Deepan, what do you mean by additive effect? You want to talk? Let us know.
okay. So I'll just try to answer based on my understanding. So you can use AI to compile, but I would recommend, since it's your thesis, the data would be very heavy, right? Unless and until you have a premium version, you won't be able to put all the data. Then you would have been trying to put a little bit multiple times. Then AI might insert errors. And anytime you put any data in AI and you take out the response from AI in your file, then you have to review it. Okay. There is a possibility that AI will insert errors. So even if you just ask AI to add some subtitles to it, but then again, there's a possibility that what you got out is different from what you put in with the subtitles. So you always have to be very careful whenever you copy paste from AI. Be careful. It's good to use AI. You can use better prompts, search. You can even ask AI what is a good prompt for this. Then you can use the prompt in another chat box. So if you're using Chat GPT, I would say that once you open one chat, you keep the same project in that chat. If you want to ask another thing, something not related to this particular project, you open another chat box. Otherwise, what happens is it correlates. Okay,
Yeah,
like if you ask something about a beauty product and suddenly about a pharma product, after some time it will correlate and give you answer, combined answer of beauty and pharma product if you don't change the chat
totally.
box.
Yeah.
So that you
And
should be very careful.
AI now has memory. So ever since you started using AI can now remember everything that you had interacted with, and then it will
Yes,
start
yes.
giving you feedback or responses based on that memory.
You can even ask AI just for fun. You can ask AI to create a summary about you. It will definitely give you some things that you didn't know that you gave to AI, but
Absolutely.
you did without
Yeah,
realizing that you did.
absolutely. So there
So,
is another question from Dr. Aishwarya. She says, is paraphrasing using AI allowed? Meaning AI, meaning ethical for journal submission.
paraphrasing using AI is allowed, ethical for journal submission also. But after paraphrasing, as I said, you need to go back to your source, the reference that you used, and this paraphrase statement, and check if there is a meaning change, because
Yeah,
that also happens. So once you give the prompt to AI that you're planning to publish a manuscript, or you want to rephrase it, so what AI will do is it will try to market it. In most of the cases, what it tries to do is make your test product better than the other thing. Like
yeah,
whatever you, it will just satisfy you. Like it will make you happy. Okay, what you want, it will give you, but what should be there, it may not. So then you should Always check it. That's the answer. Then there's another question. I'm pursuing a PhD and my research focuses on pharmacoeconomics in CKD, chronic kidney disease. Could you please suggest the most suitable journal for publishing the work? Okay. So then here I will also have to search. First, what you have to do is search for journals that publish data on pharmacoeconomics, or you have to begin either side, like, or kidney disease, like kidney related journal. Okay. And then within that journal you can search, like if you'll open each journal you'll have the search bar for that particular journal. Then you can use the term pharmacoeconomics if you have searched for kidney journal, and you can use the word kidney or kidney disease or CKD in pharmacoeconomics list of pharmacoeconomics journal that you found. That's how I go about it. And after that, once you so what I do is, I don't know if you all follow my LinkedIn page. I've published a few list of journals. What I do is I create an Excel where I write down all the journals for this particular study, and then I write the sample article next to it which is similar to my study which this journal has in it. Then impact factor, article publication charges, time to first decision, time to acceptance, percentage acceptance. That is one of the important factors that I consider, because there are some journals with only 6% acceptance rate, or some there would be some journals even with lower acceptance rate. So if you have that kind of waiting time to publish your paper, then you can go ahead. Otherwise you should choose something which accepts more percentage of paper. So yeah, about this journal, I can search and help you out. I have your email address, Rahul, so I'll try. Contributed for two book chapters and in process of my own master's research manuscript. Oh, great. Um,
Okay, so there are a few questions, Raisha, I'll read out for you.
yes, sure.
Since the reference research paper must be not too old, what is the minimum year limit? Like how many years old exactly?
See, what while writing, what I follow is I try to use only last 5 years paper, but that is not always possible, right? Sometimes the guidelines itself for that particular thing would be very old. So the latest, if the latest is 2013, then we should go ahead and use it. Okay. But yeah, while submitting the paper, just before submitting the paper also, what I do is I go and check if the update for that guideline has come up, because sometimes it happens. Like recently I wrote a manuscript, but 2 days after writing the manuscript, a guideline got updated.
Yeah.
Okay. So that you should check just before submitting your paper also. Otherwise there are some things, certain indications or certain areas of research where there is not much research. Okay. If I have to give examples, I'm not sure, but suppose for example if we search for penicillin antibiotics, I'm not sure there would be any recent research, because these are all old ones, right? So the research papers available would be very old, like probably 1990s, 2000s. Okay. So if there are recent research papers, there would be very less. So then again we have to use the older papers, then it is acceptable. But when you have recent data, you must use recent data, unless and until there's something new also, like something different which is available on older data, then you should take that old data. Otherwise the most recent papers preferred.
Yeah, perfect. So that's all. I think I don't see any more questions in the chat box. Participants, do you want to unmute and talk to Raisa or ask a question to her directly? Let us know.
uh,
No, there are no questions. All right. So if
okay,
there are
there
no,
was okay,
okay,
okay, okay. I think I missed one question by indication for some natural products, just to
okay,
highlight its unique uses. Okay.
okay. So they have not
Again,
asked in the public, so they might have sent directly to you. That may be, okay,
okay,
that's the
okay.
reason I'm not able to see here.
Uh, okay. So yeah, there are certain journals which publishes only natural product details. So those journals, and depends like which field you are in. If you're in pharmacognosy, there are journals for pharmacognosy
Yeah,
specifically. So then you can go for those journals if you are planning on natural products.
Yeah, go to peacock.net. Peacock.net. You'll find the list of pharmacognostic related journals or herbal products related journals. This is
Yes.
maintained by one of my college seniors, and he publishes all of these herbal product journals.
Nice.
All right. Perfect. So
Okay.
there are no questions. All right. So if there are no questions, Raisa, can we end the session?
Yes, yes. Thank you
All
all for joining. Okay.
perfect. So thank you so much, Raisa, for this informative session on publication writing. I'm sure all of us got a lot of value. So there are a few takeaways I got from today's session. Number one is, of course, publishing is absolutely important if we have to showcase our research. The second one is we must avoid predatory journals. Not many of them they talk about it. You spoke about it. Thank you so much for that. And then one of the ways to identify predatory journals is go to PubMed's indexing and find them. That
Yeah.
is what you
Uh,
highlighted, right?
yeah, but yeah, definitely some journals are not PubMed indexed, but still they're not predatory. So you should check Scopus Index, Web of
Yeah, yeah,
Science.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the, publishers' websites where we can find the details. We need to add a lot of reliable sources. We need to add reporting guidelines, the latest reporting guidelines as much as possible. And Equator is one of the places where we'll find all these guidelines. And it is important for us to find mentors while organizing the manuscripts, and Raisa can be one of your mentors. You can find many more mentors on LinkedIn. If you want to discuss with me as well, I'm more than available to you. So connect with both of us. Connect with Raisa on LinkedIn and start publishing your manuscript if you have not published yet. So let's get started from here. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and we hope this session was useful. We'll continue to do more of these sessions. Do write an email to Raisa if you want to have more sessions on publications, writings, manuscripts, and all of these uh, type of webinars. Okay, so Raisa, are we good to go?
Yes, yes, sure. Okay.
All right, perfect. So thank you so much, everyone. Let's meet again in one more session again sometime later on. Okay, thank you so much. Take care.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.